Welcome back, everyone, as we continue to dive into all things election, whether it's looking at the history of the presidency or past elections, or talking a little bit about this current one. Today, we're going to finally take a look at the newest song from Epic Rap Battles of History. This is Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris. Now, I generally try to avoid modern politics, though this is the first presidential election that has happened since vlogging through history has existed. So we've been making some exceptions because this is history happening in real time. And so I've been trying to keep it in terms of like in my Q&As, I'll talk more freely about that stuff, but in terms of our reactions and our typical history content, when we do cover it, we're talking about it from a historic context. But this will be one of those rare exceptions. We're just going to do what I always do with these epic rap battles, which is basically pause every so often and just give some context to what's being said. I'm not going to offer endorsements of one candidate or the other, except in the confines of who I might think did better in this rap battle. Haven't seen it yet. I know my friend Mr. Terry did a reaction a couple of days ago. I'll put a link down in the description to the original. If you're new to Epic Rap Battles of History, they've got a lot of really, really good ones. Family-friendly warning. They're not always family-friendly. In case that's something that's important to you, be forewarned. I'll also put a link that I will pin down below in the comment section that'll take you to the playlist of all of the other reactions I have done to Epic Rap Battles of History. There have been some really fun ones in there along the way. And also, if you're interested in traveling with me next year, we currently have 2 tours that are available for booking. Both start in April. One is completely in April. The other one starts at the end of April, goes to the beginning of May. One is Italy. We're going to be going to Rome and Florence, seeing all the incredible history there. We did one last year and it was great. The other one is going to be hitting 4 countries in the central part of Europe. Germany, Austria, Slovakia, and Czechia. So check that out. The links are in the description. You only got to put like $500 down to be able to reserve your spot. And we're trying to fill those spots as quickly as we can. So please don't wait if you're interested in that. Let's go ahead and dive into this one. I have a feeling this is going to be vicious.
Battles of history. Donald Trump versus
I've got the best word plays. Ask my supporters. I've got more disabilities than a New York Times reporter.
Okay, that was, right off the bat, he went right at him. If you don't remember the election from years ago, I think this was the 2016 election when he first ran. There was, and at the time it was a really big deal, but now it's just kind of become part of who he is. So he does this kind of stuff all the time, and we really don't even talk about it much anymore because it happens so often. But he made fun of a New York Times reporter who actually has some form of physical impairment. I can't remember exactly what it is. It might be cerebral palsy or something, but it was really pretty awful at the time when it happened.
You're a scam. Your whole nomination is a hoax. Your party is so pro-choice they aborted a state's right to vote.
Oh, so one of the interesting things about politics is how you choose to word things, and it was a decision that was made a long time ago that the people who oppose unrestricted abortion and for the most part oppose abortion in general label themselves as pro-life, whereas rather than saying pro-abortion, people on the other side say pro-choice, because what they're saying is we're not really in favor of abortion, we're just in favor of people being able to choose whether to have one. And so they refer to it as a woman's right to choose, which I always thought was kind of a sanitized way of looking at it, but I understand why people do it that way. And so he's given a hard time to the fact that basically the Democrats kind of circumvented the entire process by which a nomination happens, because everybody voted for Biden as the nominee, and then he steps down and they kind of just undemocratically put Kamala Harris in there. But honestly, that's the way it usually was done for most of history. It's only been in the last century or so that we've had direct elections for the nominations. It used to be just, the party would gather, the people who were competing for it didn't even go, they sent their surrogates to go. And then they just kept voting until they came up with a nominee. And so you didn't know going into the convention very often who was going to be the nominee. Abraham Lincoln wasn't anybody's first choice when he got the Republican nomination in 1860. So it's not that huge a deal. The party can do what they want in terms of how they do it. It's just that, to some people it looked bad.
So pushing pussy bows, think you could scare me with prison? Get your mugshot and your mugshot, then come talk to me about convictions.
So he's making a reference there to the assassination attempt in Butler, PA, where it grazed, his ear. And honestly, I mean, when you really stop to look at that, it was so close to being an absolutely horrific incident. And I've already done videos about that, so we won't talk more about it.
To the radical left, you should be embarrassed. The way you divide our country, I'll call you Camel Toe Harris. Your inflation's got our nation clipping coupon.
Now, again, that was one of those comments that seems crude, but coming from Trump, people probably don't even give it a second thought.
While it's leaking worse than a wet lab in Wuhan.
So that's a reference to the lab where it's believed that the coronavirus, the version of the coronavirus that led to COVID-19, because coronavirus has been around for a long time, but the version that led to the pandemic, they point to this lab in Wuhan, China.
Every American's 401k thriving. Stock market's higher than the planes full of migrants you fly in, and don't even try to deny the cognitive decline you were hiding. Prop it up, Joe, like it was Wicked and Biden.
Oh my, okay, that was really good. If you've never seen the movie Weekend at Bernie's, it's a movie from my childhood where these guys have the opportunity to go with their boss to a weekend at his beach house, and he dies, but they want to still enjoy the weekend, so they basically pretend that he's alive the whole time, and they're lugging around this guy's dead body, their boss's dead body, pretending he's alive, and he's making that reference to that. That was actually pretty good.
Here to teach you, but losing to a winner feels like ask Pence. I know how to drop a mic.
Oh, drop Mike Pence as the nominee, yeah.
Ears, but listen up close. You are JD Vance's beer and level weird. You are gross.
I think JD Vance's beard is fine. If you look at old videos of him before he had the beard, that looks weird. I think he looks way better with the beard than without it. This girl really has Kamala Harris down as far as her talk and the sound of her voice.
Been bending American decency over a barrel.
True.
Giving Lady Liberty the finger like BZ Jean Carroll in that big creepy house with our secret stacks and piles. From
Making a reference to Trump having the classified materials in his Mar-a-Lago office, which to me is just such a. There are certain times that things happen where it's like, okay, I get it, that's who he is. Other times I'm like, what on earth was he thinking? And that's one of those times where I can't wrap my mind around how that came across as okay to him.
He missed pedos. You spend too much time with files. Having sleepovers with Laura Loomer? What's going on with you? Can't you afford more than Timu Melania?
Oh, man.
You failed in your own city. Bank, ballot box, and court. You're home alone, too.
Home Alone 2, Donald Trump was in. He made a cameo appearance in Home Alone 2, where Kevin comes up to him and he gives him directions or something.
You lost in New York. I was there on January 6th. It wasn't fun for me. Just like your bowels, I was evacuated suddenly.
Oh, man. So reference to January 6th, of course, Kamala Harris was a senator from California at the time. So she was present when all that stuff went down.
You were history's least hopeful, presidential hopeful, mood swinging wildly like stock and truth social. I'm here to build bridges from Texas to Niagara Falls.
She's even got better. Wow!
I hope you
Tim Waltz makes an appearance.
that commie crap in red because you're taking a huge loss. This is ending worse for you than Afghanistan did for your boss. A man
Oh, that was Biden. Okay.
handed you everything you ever did. You couldn't make your own way. Couldn't even make your own kids.
You're
Oh, okay. That I really wish we wouldn't go there and talk on that stuff. I understand in theory the idea of saying, listen, if you don't have kids, you don't really understand certain things the same way, but that's true for a lot of people for a lot of different circumstances. If you've never owned a business, you don't know what it's like to own a business. I mean, you could say that about just about anything. But a lot of women would like to have kids, but are unable for one reason or another. So I feel like that is just that's not the kind of topic that should even be brought up in a campaign at all.
mommy was absent when you were just a little baby. And if she saw you now, she'd wish she were a childless cat lady. If
Oh,
you're
so there's been a lot of comments about childless cat ladies, and J.D. Vance got involved in that stuff.
racist landlord daddy wasn't there to kill him, seeing me living rent-free in your head.
Well, I know how you failed the bar exam after that. I guess the half of you whose job it is to rap isn't black.
Oh, good.
Kamala Harris is she's half Indian American, like from India, and half. She's not African American because I think it was Jamaican is where the black side comes from, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it is. I mean, J.D. Vance's wife is also an Indian American, and I think it's great that we have people that are of different backgrounds that are getting elected and giving opportunities and hope to people that maybe didn't have it before. I honestly, again, a non-discussion thing for me. I mean, I don't care what your background is.
Good one. You ketchup-smelling edgelord. You rock the beat softer than Stormy Daniels.
Oh, Stormy Daniels, of course. That apostrophe I think should be S apostrophe because wasn't it Daniels is her name? Of course, is the one that said that she had an affair with Trump, and then he asked her to cover it. Signed a deal with her to keep quiet about it.
I can't believe I'm even in a race with this hog. Hope you're in makeup in Ohio, because they're eating the dogs.
Listen, I'm in Ohio, okay? The whole Springfield thing, that was so ridiculous. First of all, the video that kicked off a lot of that stuff, where you had the police body cam footage talking about somebody eating a pet, that happened here in Northeast Ohio. Springfield's in Southwest Ohio. It's like 4 hours on the other side of the state. And they have a huge Haitian population there, but from everything I've heard, are contributing to society. Yes, there's a lot of logistical nightmare issues there when you basically increase the population of a city by like 20% in a couple of years. You're going to have that. But they're figuring it out. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. As long as it's being done legally, there's no issue here at all. And they're not eating people's pets in Springfield. That's not happening.
Donald, I'm putting you away like a rapist back in Cali. You should leave this battle early, like the crowds at your rallies.
They like to hit him for that, and the reason they like to hit him for that is because he lets them do it, because he reacts to it. We learned when we were like 12 years old that the way that you keep people from getting satisfaction from attacking you over things is you ignore it. You don't let them have the satisfaction of it bothering you. It's a temperament thing. You just have to not let that stuff get to you.
Yes, well, I've got Taylor Swift.
You're ugly.
Taylor Swift gets ridiculous crowds everywhere she goes. I mean, like she jumpstarts the economy of cities when she has concerts come to town. It's crazy.
You are ugly.
Well, you're a Marxist jumping.
It's Teddy Roosevelt. So Kamala Harris's father was actually a Marxist, and that's why she gets that label, because her father was. But just because your father's something doesn't mean you are. At least I hope not in my case. But okay, let's see what Theodore Roosevelt's probably going to come in and smack both of them for how they've been acting.
Jesus H. Huckleberry Christ on a cross.
He's riding a
No one
moose.
wants to fight about
He's riding a
politics
moose.
This month. You, Madam Red, White, and Pantsuit. Don't let getting higher be the greatest thing you ever do. And you, sweet baby back ribs up in heaven. Try not to slide democracy straight to Chapter 11.
Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Trump's notoriously had a number of businesses that have failed. So, yeah, don't let democracy be one of those things.
I've come here on the back of my musky antlered beast with a message for whichever one of you sucks the least.
Doesn't it feel like that's what our last several elections have been? It's like, which one of these two sucks the least? That's how it's felt for me, at least for the last 3 elections.
Government was founded on self-evident truths. So keep it of the people, by the people, for the people.
So he makes reference there to both the Declaration of Independence and also the Gettysburg Address. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And then that's the ending of the Gettysburg Address when he says, government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. Hearkening back. And I think it's a great choice here to use Theodore Roosevelt, because Theodore Roosevelt is one of those, he's a Republican, but he's one of those presidents that historically is viewed very favorably by both parties. And so I think that's a good choice to bring in to lecture both of them, because I think both sides equally respect and admire Theodore Roosevelt.
Malls! Who won?
Ooh, wow. I don't know who won on that one, but there's still like 2 minutes to go. What is going on the rest of this? Oh, it's just like the ad for Ground News and stuff. So I feel like that one was pretty even on both sides, but I thought his hits on her were a little dirtier, but that fits with their style, because I think for the most part she has run a pretty standard campaign in terms of a typical candidate. She hasn't really gotten down into too much of the mud. She's let her surrogates do that, which is typically what you do, whereas Trump does all that stuff himself, and it's pretty much off the cuff, and it kind of came across that way. So I thought that was a good portrayal of both of them. But I won't even ask who you think won, because everybody's going to side with. It's insanely partisan right now. I can't even make innocent comments on Twitter without everybody jumping to conclusions about what I'm saying and interpreting it as me saying things I'm not. So I just started posting stupid stuff on Twitter last night, like Deep Thoughts by Jack Handy from Saturday Night Live, and my thoughts on pineapple on pizza and things like that, because I feel like that's the only things I can say right now on social media without people freaking out about it. Tomorrow night, Monday night, the night before the election, I will be going live on a stream to give my predictions for who's going to win every state and all the Senate and House races, how that's going to go. And then election night around 7 o'clock when the polls close in Ohio, I'll be jumping on to Mr. Terry's live stream for the election just to talk about what's going on here in Ohio. Hope you'll enjoy that, and hope you'll join us for all of those things. Links down in the description for the upcoming tours. Would love to meet you and hang out with you for a week in some amazing historical places. Check out my other videos from Epic Rap Battles. Thanks for watching.